some of these open mics and workshops. Fantastic local poet. Trying to find out a bit of information on him. It's a double-edged sword, the internet, isn't it? You start doing a bit of research, and I thought, that's odd. Surely he's not the club historian of the Rotary Club of Hendersonville. I don't think he is, actually. That would be very odd, wouldn't it? But on his Twitter account, he describes himself as a woodland dweller found growing on dead trees, converting rotting leaves into poetry. That's lovely. That's what Twitter should be about. Lovely poetic turn of phrase. Please welcome to stage fine poet, all the way from the Badlands of Blandford Forum, Mr. Sherwin!
Good evening. There is your set list for tonight. It is sex, drugs, violence and consumerism. So there's something for everyone, unless Cliff Richard or the Dalai Lama is in. This first one looks back to the time when I used to live with my parents. It's called Party Time. Oh God, look at the state I'm in. Magic mushrooms are fun, but not mixed with gin. And now I'm bent double around the porcelain. And there's a dog in the house doing dog things, and strange men with strange drugs and facial piercings, and someone's kicking the front door in when my sister arrives and gives the coppers a ring. Who arrive pretty quick with their sirens in, and I try and explain, but their faces are melting. The carpet's dissolving, and that isn't helping. Oh God, look at the state I'm in. Mum and Dad don't come back. Please stay in, Peking. This is not a poem about fat girls in skinny jeans, with a layer of blubber hanging over the top who look like someone pulled them in and they forgot to say stop. Daffodils. This is not a poem about Big Brother, where we only tuned in to see if they'd fight or sleep with each other, and the chances of someone saying something clever hovered between impossible and never. If I had my way, we'd lock the doors and make the whole lot fast, wait till they turn cannibal and see who's eaten last. Forget-me-nots. This is not a poem about the war on terror. It isn't making war and announce some kind of grammatical error. And if we can spend £3 billion on a Hadron Collider, surely we can drop a ton of ecstasy on the Taliban and send in Groove Rider. Dailies. This is not a poem about the government that snoops and spies on us, spins and lies to us, abuses us and chooses to treat us like losers whilst taking we fall for its elaborate ruses. That dissipates love and disseminates hate and completely fails to anticipate the public mood until it's too late, and expects us to vote for them and reinstate this bunch of chimps and chumps until some future date. That don't listen but can talk for hours and hours and hours, gorged bloated and fat on their democratic powers. No. Geraniums. This is a poem about flowers. This next one is for my youngest sleepless son. It's called Afraid of the Dark. I rise up from a dream like a wave of dangerous blue. It is my youngest son, eyes shining with fear. I'm afraid of the dark, he cries. And I say, be afraid of strange men who'll offer you sweets and hang around in the park. But don't be afraid of the dark. Be afraid of the ice caps melting too soon. Be afraid of addiction, the needle and spoon. Be afraid of your parents who'll never leave you alone. But don't be afraid of the dark. Be afraid of skin cancer and getting too close to the sun. Be afraid of zany people who think they're good fun. Be afraid, in fact, of everyone, but don't be afraid of the dark. Be afraid of growing up in a world without trees, of being kidnapped on holiday and shot in the knees, of Ebola, a kind of melting disease. But don't be afraid of the dark. And then I look down and still my son weeps. That'll teach him, I think, to mess with my sleep. I'm quite new to all this, but people come up to me and say, Sid, this world of performance poetry is all about drugs and limos, and I have to be honest and say yes, but sometimes you also get to sleep with really famous people. This is called Sex with the Stars. You'd think Ronnie Corbett, being about so high, would be good at giving head. It was rubbish, despite what he said. Though with my passing interest in necrophilia, I might have another go when he's dead. Anna, being Swedish, knew what to do. bared an orderly queue. And Benny certainly taught me a thing or two, as Bjorn played a haunting melody on a plastic kazoo. Good times. I took Jedward to a hotel room with a mirror on every surface. Though admittedly this hadn't worked out so well with Bernard Manning had been taking me from behind and I'd failed to get any purchase. Still remember that noise. With Jedward I thought things would be better, things would be good, though I never could tell who was Jed, who was Wood. And again we were chained together in black leather hoods. And halfway through I looked up, grimacing in pain, and saw myself reflected again and again and again and again and again and again. A black leather trio of drug-induced shame, licking the anus of that old whore called fame. The crankies, to be honest, are over the hill. We could only keep going with a succession of pills, a lot of encouragement, and my whole repertoire of skills. But I said to myself, sit, stop, do jigsaws for thrills. Stop gulping down the celebrity krill. You'll make yourself lonely and ugly and ill. And I thought I could do it. I thought I would stop. But then I bumped into Iggy Pop, who does yoga. Balance on top. Though his habit of singing Search and Destroy would have been annoying with or without the guitar-shaped anal toy. Now I will quote you a line as tight as an owl from the prose introduction to Allen Ginsberg's Powell. Take hold of your petticoats, we are going through hell. And if that's how it felt during my kiss and tell, I apologise. But know this, one name I omitted, for the terrible sexual sins he committed, for being too sadistic, too outre, too harsh, I can't possibly say Alan Titchmarsh. This next one's a new one. It's for the nasty little man my wife reversed their car into at Tesco's garage forecourt. I didn't have my hair cut like this. I just told it not to grow. And it listened, just so you know, because it knows what's good for it. I'm so hard like, I don't sleep in a bed, but out on the patio, with a breeze block under my head, instead of a pillow. So now you know. I'm so hard like, I can barely walk. Spit comes out my mouth when I talk. As well. I'm so hard, I can barely spell my own name. I'm hard, my wife's hard, my kids are well hard. My dog's so hard, chewed off all its own legs. Then had a fag. Can't take a walk anymore, but that's not your drag. Don't laugh. I'm so hard, I had this face tattooed on my face. But it's still an ugly disgrace. I'm hard, the country's hard, England, only little and green, but... You know what I mean? It's not easy being old. I've got a wife and kids gone. Live with that Chinese fella. Not even British, his face is all yellow. And if I see his ugly mug, problem being artist, no one gives you a hug. That's it, please, come on. To his car, he did get our insurance details off of us. But now he's in a comedy poem, so who's laughing now? This is called Life. If my life was a biscuit, it would be broken. If my life was a secret, it would get spoken. If my life was a shirt, it wouldn't be ironed. If my life was a wildebeest, it would get lioned. If my life was a bus, it wouldn't appear. If my life was a drink, I think cheap and flat beer, that last half inch in the glass at a party when everyone's gone. If my life was a business, then no one would need it. If my life was a book, I have written one, then no one would read it. If my life was a spacecraft, it'd be Apollo 13. If my life was the most common form of abdominal injury caused by road traffic accident or violent assault resulting in some internal hemorrhaging, it'd be a ruptured spleen. My rhymes better than others. If my life was a racehorse, it'd have dodgy knees. If my life was a hobbit, it'd be Samwise Gamgee. If my life was a saying, it'd be, you're taking the piss, son. If my life was a poem, I hope it wouldn't be this one. we all get exactly what we want. Armour-plated cars the size of small shipping containers, with enough room inside to host a small Mexican village, and whose windscreen nozzles fire acid into the eyes of approaching big issue sellers from 25 yards away. Cars that consume the same amount of oil on one trip to Waitrose and back as would sustain all the kerosene lamps in India for the next 300 years. But hey, you know, we all get exactly what we want. Hair with more body, more colour, more volume, more sexual energy. Vitamin-enhanced hair that can be tossed from side to side in perpetual slow motion so as to keep sad people the correct distance away. We maintain around ourselves the most fly zone of miserability. Because we all have to have exactly what we want. A small army of Vietnamese personal servants to attend to one's every tiny whim. And you communicate in silence like ants with little finger gestures as they squeeze past each other in the narrow purpose-built corridors designed to carry them to and fro the many denigrating tasks, each of which shave off the finer tendencies from their souls, and whose pygmy stature means they are happy to sleep upright with the cleaning equipment under the stairs. A one-legged former crack whore who can tap dance on her lone foot and simultaneously crank out power ballads that melt the nation's hearts, and could win back her children from social services, using the magical union of song and dance and reality television. And who cares if it costs £17.50 to cast your single vote, because she's got such a great backstory. And seeing her overcome the odds is exactly what we want. An ensuite sweatshop, adjoining the bathroom, someone can emerge from the shower shouting, "I want to be purple, I want to be glamorous," and a crack team of Chinese tailors moves in to take one's precise measurements before drifting into the workshop, where rank upon rank of Filipino toddlers sit, with golem-sized eyes hunched over their sewing machines, waiting to translate those measurements into something absolutely divine, using the pelt of the last mountain snow. Because we all have to have exactly what we want. A leg. The arms of someone you love, wrapped around your shoulders, as you cry all the wanting down the smooth slopes of your moisturised cheeks to trickle into the clear waters at your feet, because no one deserves to get exactly what they want. Very good.
Fantastic stuff, Sid. Thank you very much indeed. We're going to move straight on to the